So thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
It means a great deal to me that you have me in your home.
Yeah.
This
No, it's a pleasure having you.
Well, thank you. Why don't we just start off with, why don't you just tell me a little about yourself? Not necessarily about the topic of faith yet, but just so I understand, you told me where you were born, but the family you grew up in, anything else about your life, what work you do, just to
Okay.
get to know you a little better.
How many minutes should I finish it?
1 to 2. So pretty quick.
Okay.
Just
I was born in Bhavnagar, the city. It is somewhere in Gujarat. It's a port city. My matriarchal family, my maternal uncle, they all were.
You are known for the airport.
Yeah, this will always be a problem.
No, that's okay. When it happens, we should stop.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, I was born in the city of Bhavnagar, which is a port city in Gujarat, and I had a very strong influence from my father and mother. I mean, I always say that my father and mom I'm a product of a cocktail marriage, though I'm from the same community. My father is from Kutch and my mom is from the Kathiawar region, and father and mom both have been an influence on me, but I have a very strong influence from my maternal grandfather, since moms have quite an influence on their children, so she has tried to pass on his qualities on me. Otherwise, I'm a typical Capricornian by nature. I'm born in 10th Jan 70, and my father was always one person who always told me that you should always go for the best and everything. And one person, a very silent one, but he taught me that one should always stand for truth and everything. His own actions as a child, when I saw my father, I saw that he never used to lie and everything. There were little bits of vices, of course, you can't overlook that. But the idea is that what happened was, it put me in a position where my thirst for knowledge increased. He had retained books from his childhood, which he passed it on to me, one being a very famous essay called Acres of Diamond, which I think I read at the age of 16 or 17, and I mean, there are several such things that comes from my father's side also, and that put me into a role where I went on to become a media researcher. Initially, for the first few years of my professional career, I was working as an auditor. I mean, my mom was very keen that I should start earning, but somewhere along the line, since Islam is quite against interest, and that started having a bearing on me, and my understanding about interest also started changing, though I have studied as a BCom graduate, as a commerce graduate. But then I thought that this is not good, and I finally took a break. I went and asked one of the priests, and he guided me through. He went on to become my mentor, and that is how he inquired with me, what other things can I do? And among the things that I had offered, there was one that I could become a pilot. I wanted to start a business for fisheries. And of the few things that I had offered him, at one point there was one line which I had said, journalism. Since a lot of my friends felt that my journal knowledge is good, and they thought that I can make some contribution. I mean, I can be better off as a journalist. So when I went to Journalism Institute and I studied from Xavier Institute of Communications, I realized that my thirst for knowledge, my thirst for truth is something, I mean, I can't become a journalist since I'll be always under the pressure of the editor or some particular lobby. So the best thing for me was that choosing the line of being a researcher. And research has always been a passion for me. There have been projects where I have worked free. I have not charged a single paisa. And there's always this element of learning something new. And this passion for information, I will say, got transcended into I mean, it became a lifetime of a passion for me. What started from about at the age of 24 when I was in XIC, that's the institute, and it has continued all along. In between, there have been gaps where I was jobless, where I was not getting projects. But well, one has his ups and downs in life, and today I would say I'm a little bit settled. That's okay. I got something that I enjoyed. The journey has been worth it. Given the choice, I will again become a researcher, and I intend continuing as a researcher. It changed my perspective about a lot of things. Even today, when I look at journalists, when I look at what is being read in media, what is written in media, it's somehow, I feel sad. There's a lot of output coming by way of information, but when it comes, the output that comes as information is very large. I mean, just yesterday I was going through this PPS in which it was predicted by 2050 there will be enough supercomputers to take over the entire human intelligence. I had my small laugh because information output is quite large. Unfortunately, knowledge is not, wisdom is not, and even in this, the ability to look at it, things positively is very, very minimal. I mean, your project, the one which I am currently working on, I don't know how many people are even aware of it and how many people would go. There's an entire site devoted on silence. I don't know how many people would be aware of it. I mean, I don't even know how many people make an attempt in their life to go on Google and type whether they can find something on silence. But if they do, immediately that would be the first link that they would get. So solitude, silence, positive. I mean, if one only has to go into Google Trends and look at it, one will get an idea as to, I don't know what is the current population of netizens, but it would show the sad figure that people are still into gaming, sex, pornography, and current events, but they are not interested in something whereby they can promote themselves in their life. I mean, create something good. We get all these different kinds of hoax emails and everything, but at the end of the day, but still, it's like one of those emails where I had read. There's this gentleman who tells a man on the seashore, he says that, why are you picking up these crabs and throwing back into the sea? So he says, what difference will you make? So that man picks up and throws that one and says, I made a difference to that one. So I consider you, me, and even Angela, with whom I'm working, and all these little bits, that we are all those people who are picking up that one crab and we made that difference. One thing that I've always remembered about from my childhood is my grandmother, whose photograph is out there, and my father and my mom, they all offering prayers. And I remember that as a child, my father always used to take me to these religious gatherings, and I was always very keen on going to attending such. And I remember what he used to do is, because it was late in the night, at least during those times, I'm talking somewhere in the mid-70s, post 1975 or something, and my father and my mom used to put me to sleep, and then he used to keep, the way I have this kind of dress, they used to have also another coat during those days, so he used to keep it ready. So I used to look at the coat and I used to understand Dad is going to go for the religious gathering, and once it so happened, I woke up and I saw that Dad is missing. And I made a huge hue and cry. So those are the early days that I remember, that yes, as a child, I know since I was very young, and on the last day of the Ashura in Muharram, there used to be a great rush, all men and everything. So I was never allowed on the 10th day to sit among men. So my grandma used to take me on the top of the masjid, on the second floor, where she had a sitting, and from where you could get an eagle view of the gathering happening below. So those were those early days of mine. And yes, my father and my mom always praying. Not always, but there's something else also. This place, about 6 months earlier, there used to be a wall over here, and this used to be a gallery, a small veranda kind of a thing. My father always used to take that chair, and he used to always have this copy of Quran in his hand. And early morning, I mean, everybody in this area also knows, but the neighbors and everybody, they used to say, 8 o'clock in the morning, your father starts reciting Quran, and it goes on up till 9, and he's offering, I mean, those, what we call duas and everything, and he's reading out all this thing, and he had this habit of reciting it aloud. And so that same thing has passed on to me. Nowadays, my mom grumbles a lot because I have a little bit, my decibel level is a little bit higher. But my mom says, Juzer, you have to read it silently, and I always have a fight with her. So you never said that to dad. I mean, you never told dad about it. Why are you questioning me? So, I mean, I'll say that this one is this Ashura, going to, the Muharram meetings. My father and my mom always, early morning, I wake up and I always see them, even same kind of dress my father was wearing. And sometimes I still remember when he used to wake me up, he always used to recite this thing. There's this thing which we say in Arabic, Shah-e Marda, Sher-e Yazda, Quwwat-e Parwardigar, La Fatah illa Ali, La Saif illa Zulfikar. Those were probably the first words that I would hear when I used to wake up, and my father used to say, come on Juzer, wake up, wake up.
What does it mean?
The first part, if I'm not wrong, I think is in Persian, and the second part of the phrase is, this is a statement in praise of Ali, the successor to Muhammad. Shah-e Marda, Sher-e Yazda. Shah-e Marda, the great man who won over the great Yazd people. Shah-e Marda, Sher-e Yazda, who conquered the city of Yazda. Sher-e Yazda. Quwwat-e Parwardigar, who got his strength from God. Parwardigar, God. La Fatah illa Ali. There would have been no victory. Now this is in Arabic. La Fatah illa Ali. There would have been no victory without Ali. La Saif illa Zulfikar. And whose sword was the Zulfikar. So, I mean, you go on any Shia site and the sentence will be there. Whether it's Wikipedia, whether it's typical Shia sites, whether it is on our sites, Dawoodi Bohra sites also. And whenever there's something about past victories or anything is said out in a sermon, at times the whole public will start reciting this. Shah-e Marda, Sher-e Yazda, Quwwat-e Parwardigar, La Fatah illa Ali, La Saif illa.
It's okay.
I mean, we can get much better downloads and much better voices than me from the YouTube.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I correctly remember it was my 7th birthday as per my Islamic age, and it's quite amazing that my mom tells me in the afternoon. I mean, Islamic birthday in the sense that as per the Hijri calendar, my birthday had come, which is the 3rd of Zulqa'dah, and my mom said, today you are 7-year-old, and Juzer, it's time that you offer your first prayer. So she made me perform the ablutions which I just performed before coming sitting for this interview. And there was this one small piece of cloth which was called masalla, and on that she told me that masalla is also still there. It has been given to one of my nephew or nieces, but on that she helped me out. She said, Juzer, you already know a lot of things, so I'll be just guiding you as to how do you have to offer your prayer. But there I did it. So I very clearly remember that on the 7th birthday of mine, I offered my first proper prayer. I mean, every time I used to stand along with my father and mother, sometimes imitating them, but that was the first occasion. I still remember it was an afternoon prayer. And well, from the age of 7 till 19, I may have missed a prayer, deliberately left a prayer, but from the age of 19 till 39, today 20 years have passed, I try to see that I don't miss a single prayer of mine.
Tell me, what does faith mean to you?
Faith. The definition of faith that I understand is you have to believe in your heart. It's in 3 phases. You have to believe in your heart, you have to express it at your mouth, and you have to speak it out. And third, you have to act and you have to perform deeds that will not only be a stamp about your faith, but it will also be an I wouldn't say an advertisement, but a symbol of your faith. So since when I am in this dress, I'll be extra cautious as to what I am doing, whether I am going to a mosque to offer my prayers, whether I am offering it in my house. You have turned up today. Even if you have not turned up today, it has never, I have always been very conscious that irrespective of whether I could be a single person in a single room, and it may happen that the lights may go off, but God is definitely watching me, and so I have to offer my prayers in exactly the same fashion as God wants me to do. And not only that, sometimes momentarily we may get angry and we may lose control on our thinking abilities, but otherwise every single moment of your life I am aware as to what I am up to. I probably may commit a sin. Let's say I saw some photograph on the net, any lady or any actress, and looks appealing, I may click on her. That clicking of mine is a sin. I should not have gone to that site. But I am aware of, so not even for a single moment will my mind waver, and that to an extent comes from that fate. It is, who am I cheating? I'm cheating God. And that I can't, it never, so whether I go to sleep or whether I'm waking up or whatever I'm doing, I'm stepping out of the house, anything and everything. But even when I have come to receive you out, so the first thing that I do when I step outside, I say Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, in the name of God. So even for a second or for those little moments, I cannot miss God. He's there watching me, and I have to see that I am. So, of course, most of the time I'm always a sinner, but the idea is that God consciousness never leaves me. And how can it come? 20 years back when I had started offering my prayers, for me it was just a prayer, something I had to perform. Today that entire idea has changed for me. And I'm like rice. The more I'm aging, the better I'm maturing. And my faith is also maturing with me.
Tell me about what changed for you. How did this change from being someone who just offered prayers to something that was meaningful?
Okay. What has happened is, since my childhood, I've always been, after I became a teenager, I've always been a rebel. Even the friends that I had at that point in time, they were people who were always away from relatives, so they had very different notions about relatives, and they said friends are more important than relatives and everything, and I too got carried along. Yeah. I too got carried along on those lines. I still would not deny, yes, friends are very important. At some point, friends are very important. At certain point, relatives are. Some of your friends do cross, like my friend Anil Bhagat, Tariq Nakud, I can name this. They are as much a part of my family as much as any other relative would be. But there's Hari Naidu. I can take many names. But the idea is that much in this fashion, they also used to think about religion and rituals. And I always had this particular thing in mind that yes, what's prayers, and they all are rituals and everything. But then I always used to, since the way I said it earlier, that my parents, they always used to offer prayers and everything, and that had some impact on me. And I knew that there were only 5 things that God had asked, 7 things that God had asked. Sorry, let me correct. 7 things that God had asked, and of those 7, I mean, that time I used to think 5. Later on, I understood that it is not 5 but 7. So I said one is prayer, and my parents have been offering for so long, so many years I have seen them. Obviously, they are not fools to have done this thing for such a long time. And so somewhere along at the age of 19, I thought that irrespective of whatever my little understanding may be, but these people are much more intelligent than me, and well, they have taught me something, so I have to take upon prayers. I said the reason will follow later, but let me start with it. And that was also, even when I left interest in the financial world and I stepped into media, that was again my thinking. Today I can debate in a much better fashion on interest than I can talk about, than I used to talk 15 years back. So this change of fate, and then once it becomes a habit, then I have realized that this is probably the only good habit of mine, that if I left it, I had an uneasiness in me. I mean, you can leave a lot of good habits and you would not regret. But this is one in which I used to feel some uneasiness. So I used to feel, even as of today, there have been periods when I have offered for a very long time. I have offered, yeah. I should have first looked at the schedule of the handcrafts today. Anyways, I mean, there have been long durations in this last 20 years when I have offered prayers only in masjid, and my prayers offering in home has been quite less. But even then, you know, that uneasiness is always there. And I always feel that the mosque is only 10 minutes away, but sometimes there's job, there's some assignment to be done, there's some deadline, and I always take that as an excuse and I skip my prayers at masjid and I offer it at my home. But today there's a complete different. I think the change has been that in my community we have also these sessions called sabaks, in which we go and we study. And yeah, one very important thing again, from the age of 7 probably, again, apart from my offering my first prayer, that is also the age when I think I regularly started attending the 9-day sermons that we have in my community, which during the first 10 days of Muharram. From the age of 7 till today, I mean, just went a month back. Except for, I can count on my fingers, probably I must have missed less than 5 sermons in this last, how many, 32 years? 32 years multiply by 9, and still I can say that on the 9th, when my friend's father died, 1992, I missed it. There was once when I had a job I had taken up at Ashish Balram Nagpal for 3 days and I left it. So those 3 days. So these sermons, which always go on for about 3.5 hours to 4 hours, in that it's not just recounting the stories of what happened with Muhammad and everything. They tell you a lot of things. If you're offering prayer, why it is offering, why do you go only in this particular position, why Islam has done this, why Islam has done that, what our community has got to say. Now you can imagine at a very impressionable age, I am attending the sermons, and this thing is always at the back of my mind. I still had not even started getting my beard hair and my mustache hair, and I heard one of the sermons where one of this priests in one of the sermons is saying that God was not a fool that he would give man a beard and woman he would not have given beard. There must be a reason why men are having beard. I am not going to tell you everything. I still remember those words very well. I am not going to tell you everything. It is for you to go back and reflect on it. And I mean, I can close my eyes and that scene, that scenario opens up in front of my eyes, and I still remember from which masjid this man had come and the sermon that he had given in a Santa Cruz masjid. So these little things probably built on, and by the time from the age of 7 till the age of 19, I think the mold had formed in my mind, where it was said that I have to start prayers. I mean, all these various factors, mom and dad and grandma offering prayers, the priest telling something, then there was this always interactions, the fights which I used to have with one particular uncle on religion and everything, who have influenced me a lot about my thinking about Islam and everything. And I mean, all this thing went on. I mean, so 19th, I take my first proper this thing. I mean, we have this thing called oath of allegiance in my community, which we have to give at the age of 19 to the spiritual head of our community. And according to that, after the moment I have given that oath, which we call misak, after that it becomes compulsory. All the prayers, all the fastings, jihad, paying my zakat. Zakat, it's not donation, charity is not the right word. Tax is also not the right word. How do I put it? It is something which is due to God and I have to pay here. So all these things become compulsory for me from the time that I have given my first oath of allegiance. And it always was there at the back of my mind from the age of 15 when I had first given my oath of allegiance, that I have to go for this. But I think at 19 I took that decision, no, I am starting from today. I still can't recollect which day it was, but I remember clearly my age was 19 and everything. I used to stand with my friends outside and used to just roam around, and I used to say, excuse me, it's time for my prayers, I'll be back in 15 minutes.
Tell me, you used the word God consciousness before.
Yeah.
So tell me, what's your memory of the first time you felt that God consciousness?
This religious bearing was there always on me. I can tell you the first time I was disappointed with God, I remember quite well. I couldn't score the marks that I wanted to in my... in India we have these examinations called SSC. And I had prayed a lot apart from studying quite hard. And I still got a measly 67. And that was the time when I had abused God, used all colorful language for God, and I felt cheated. But before that, I still remember at the age of 12 I had already started fasting, the 30 days of fasting. And so would I consider that to be God consciousness? No, but I think my actual beginning of God consciousness probably started after the age of 17, when I was in college and when I started reading a lot. I used to go to the library because my school never had a proper library, so my access to books was minimal. But in the college, I got the library card. I could go and read the books. And fortunately, I was in a college where very few people used to attend library. So the librarian was always happy to see that somebody has come to ask for books. And I used to read different things about science. I still remember there was one magazine called Mirror, in which there used to be a column called Things Stranger Than Fiction. There used to be a column in which all these little things about episodes where science couldn't explain, and certain things that had happened in past. Jagdish Chandra Bose inventing crescograph, and all these little things I started reading. So I realized that there is something which probably science is missing, and somewhere along the line science has yet to catch up with religion. So, and I was quite regular. I think Mirror used to come every fortnightly or something, and I used to have look at my calendar and say, okay, Mirror magazine must have come in the library, so let me go and read up this column. So reading Mirrors, that column, then reading various books. By that time I had also come across Nostradamus. At the age of 15 I read his Quarantines for the first time. My cousin had bought his book. So even that I said, how could this man, predict and everything. Of course, today my understanding about Nostradamus is a little bit different than what I had at that point in time. But that is how it started. And I think by the age of 17, God consciousness had set in me. The prayer business started at 19. I think between 17 to 19, that period went wherein I must have been contemplating that yes, I should start, but I used to have these excuses or whatever little things at my mind, and it probably is to skip it. From but I think by 17 it was there in my mind. I had started that feeling that yes, there are certain things about Islam that I cannot fight with my friends, but I feel that it is right and I should follow it. I still remember that yes, I had come across even the translations of Quran, and I used to read it, and my introspection also had started, and I had started reading about other religions also, and that is how, when I had told you Buddhism, the Eightfold Path that I had read at that point in time. So that is when I first came across that Eightfold Path, and I started even comparing religions and everything. So yeah, around the age of 17, I can say, though 15 was the age when I gave my oath of allegiance, but I think, was it a bit too early on my part of my parents? I think they felt that it was the duty. The boy has matured and so he should go and take the oath of allegiance. But by 17, my mind was ready to accept the fact that yes, God is there. God operates in a way we don't understand. God has got things and He has put certain rules that we have to follow. I don't understand them completely, but there must be a reason. What I mean to say is that I started finally accepting the fact that God is one particular entity whom I can't understand, who is superior to me, and who can operate in a fashion that I will never be able, I may not be able to understand or never be able to understand. But yes, He has said a lot of things in a lot of different religions, and most of the time it all happens to be the same. People are looking at it differently, but well, I am into Islam, and for me again, as I said, that there was this person, he used to give me explanations that in Islam this is how we look at it, this is what other religions look at it, this is the way these people are thinking, but in Islam we look at it this way. So that little bit of, so that was probably the reason why I went for Islam rather than going for any other religion also. I mean, I was a headstrong person at that point in time. If I would have felt that no, Islam is wrong, and if some another religion could have had a more influence on me at that point, I would have gone against my parents. I mean, I was that kind of a rebel, and this probably even this little rebellious attitude in me also made me strong. That I started looking at society and felt that how stupid can they be when they can overlook these things. My father was not he was not well off. Not rich. I would say we were poor. Yeah, we were poor, and I have seen those days there when. So I was always taught as a child, I have to respect food, and food has to be respected in such a way. We in my community we sit in a different fashion, where all the people of the family sit together from a single. There's this big steel plate which we call thal. We all eat together from the same bowl and everything. And my father, my grandmom specifically, she always used to be the last person to get up. She'll finish all the food and she will clean up the whole of that plate. and she passed it on to me. I think around the age of 14 she has told me that, Juzer, apart from me, now it is you who will look after this thing, that when you will always be the last person to get up and see that food is respected. I mean, I don't want to use the word food. In Islam we call it maidat and everything, but my English vocabulary is giving me this. Anyways, so it became so important for me that even it became so important for me that not a grain of rice should remain back in that plate. And what used to happen is, always my father, since I can remember, he always used to say, God has given two things. God has given man everything except two things. One is rizq, the ability, that is the food that it comes on your plate. I mean, there's a word I can't get it. And one is death. He says there's two things God has kept with himself, otherwise everything has been given to man. He's got the intelligence to do anything and everything except the power to get the meal in front of him and death. And this thing always was there. I mean, I must have heard it from the age of 4 probably, from the time I started here understanding my father. And this probably was also one thing. And what happens in India, unfortunately, I'll tell you, is that people throw away food. And it boils me. I mean, sometimes I feel like if I see some person, I feel like taking that food and throwing on the person's face. I said, how can you insult food? I mean, you have to. Again, I remember the crisis in Ethiopia, I remember the crisis in Kalahandi in Orissa. All this happened during those formative years of my mind. And it always used to remain, just for a grain of food. I mean, look at the conditions these people are facing. So it always eats me. Even today, one of the I always, whenever I'm walking on the road and when I'm walking through if there's some garbage pile and if I see food lying there, I said, probably the only reason if I ever leave India and if I won't come back to India is because people in India throw away food like this. I mean, how can you waste so much food? So, and this particular quote from my father, that whatever food you get in your life is always because of God. So this played a kind of a major role in my life. And I was coming back to, what was it? Let me think of the plane is coming. I very clearly remember, I have been one of those people who have actually gone on the road. I have picked up those chapatis, those leftovers and everything. People would not even dream of thinking. I mean, it used to be in such dirty conditions, and I used to this very fingers of mine, I used to lift up the food, I used to go and put it in a place where nobody would stamp on it. And even as of today, I mean, just like the passion for research, there's this burning passion for food, which I feel that how can somebody waste? I mean, I probably may not express my anger, but I mean, I get livid. I mean, how can you waste food? I mean, if you can't eat it, then don't eat. I mean, don't serve yourself that kind of a thing. Or if in case there are so many hungry people, just take that pile of food and go and give it to their innumerous beggars in it. Even today in the city of Bombay, if night 11 o'clock you step outside, Bombay's gone through this great, I mean, what do you call, boom in this economy, but still you will find there are people who are lying hungry on those. I mean, if not, at least you will find those drug addicts who are ready to accept anything, because not just the drugs, but even they need food at some point in time, and they realize that. And you'll always find on these local platforms and everything. So, I mean, that has always played a very strong role in me, and this my dad's statement that food is something which comes from God. And I've always felt, yes, on that one statement, whether at the age of 15 when I did abuse God, but it never passed away from my mind that yes, food is provided by God, you have to look after that.
Tell me, speaking of the Quran,
Yeah.
is there a verse or set of verses or a portion that is most meaningful to you?
The first verse itself is very meaningful for me. It says, I'll just recite it. Auzu billahi samilani minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-rahmanir rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alaihim ghairil maghdubi alaihim waladdallin. You can, of course, see, for me, I think probably the entire agenda of life, Quran, Islam and everything, I think this is a preamble to the Islamic faith, preamble to a faith itself. It starts. You probably may have heard of it, Deepika, I don't know whether you are aware of it, I'll tell you the meaning. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of God, the mercifulest of merciful. Yeah, okay. And then Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin, the first one. Thank you God for Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Thank you God. Okay. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Who is the mercifulest of merciful? God again gives that. And then he says Maliki Yawmiddin. Now if one were to look a little bit, even just pay a little bit attention on it, one can understand the entire set of how the evolution, the present and what will follow. The here, not the hereafter, the doomsday. Look at it. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Thank you for God. Thank you for God for what? For the Big Bang, for this, for that, for everything, for building the world, for every single resources, for putting a perfect thing in place. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. You are merciful that you have given us this time so that we can pass through this phase. Okay. Pass through this phase means all these billions and billions of years since the soul of mine have been created, your soul and my father's and everybody's and in this table and everything. Okay, Maliki Yawmiddin, that is when the end will come. Because I think he was there, I think Kabir has said it. He was there when nothing was there. He is there when everything is there, and he will be there when nothing will be there. Okay, so finally when the account books will be opened up and he'll look at the balance sheet, at that time he becomes Malik Yawmiddin. So he has that right at that point in time to decide now what exactly is to be done with you. But the middle sentence, Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, and let me talk a little bit more on this Ar-Rahmanir Rahim bit. In the Islamic eschatology, God says, I have divided mercy in 100 parts. 99 parts I have kept it with me. One part I have distributed among all the living beings. Okay, now when he's talking about the living being, he's talking from the day the Big Bang or whatever way you want to conceive the way universe started, and he talks right up till the doomsday. So I don't know how many times the explosions, this, that and everything has happened. This 6 billion lives, all of us have mercy. The organisms, they have mercy. The organisms that passed away, I mean thousands and thousands of years, they had mercy. For the next few billion years, that all the living organisms, they will have mercy. All this mercy, you put it into one single thing, and even then God has got 99 parts, and this one part is, I mean, it has been distributed. So you have to look at it, I mean, wonder how merciful God is. Okay, and when you start, I mean, this is beyond our imagination, but in whatever little way that we can understand, we have to understand that in the first 3 sentences, God has literally given the design as to how He wants to operate. And then in the very next sentence, the 4th sentence, He says, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. We generally recite the sentence when we want our work also to be done. Lady, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, what's the meaning? Misses me. Ihdina siratal mustaqim means this is the straight path. And then he says, Siratal mustaqim, Ihdina siratal mustaqim, siratal lazina an'amta alaihim ghairil maghdubi alaihim waladdallin. And, oh God, please do not waver me from this straight path which I am following. I can't recollect what is the meaning of the 4th one. But, so in this 6 sentences, God has, or if you want to consider 7, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim being the first, He has literally put everything in front of you. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Oh God, how can I miss it? Then He says, this fourth sentence, which is also very important for, and then he says, and then you have to follow in the straight path. I mean, life is a straight path. If you are following him, you don't have to worry. Everything is going to be managed by him. And do not allow me to be waver. So Saturn does not influence you in any way. And you reach there, and that's it. The closest that it is said in Islam, as well as somewhere along when I started praying, I also used to, I had this feeling that, yeah, probably this is the best thing. So when I have bowed in front of, in namaz, when we go in that sajda position, that sajda, and especially, namaz I have just offered because he has demanded from me. But after that, when I am asking some things from him, that is the prayer during which I am demanding certain things from him. At that point in time, I feel that yes, I am closest to him. Another reason probably is because in my community also, Imam Hussain gave away his life when he said, he tells his killer that allow me to give sajda. And he says, let me offer my prayers, let me offer whatever prayers at that point in time. And it is at that point in time Shima cuts off his head. So I feel that, that act, that act itself, and from that point in time or whenever, I think man gets closest to God. He can meditate and he can do everything, but this is one point in time that God says that yes. There is this episode of even Muhammad saying that in the night of Miraj I came very close to God, and he says that when God called me ahead, I went and I did a sajda, and God said rise and again come ahead. He says I got so close to God that just a few feet, not few feet, he has actually said the length of a bow, the two lengths of a bow, I was away from the curtain that separated me from God. So, even in that episode of Muhammad says, I bowed and God called me closer. I bowed and God called me closer. So I feel that episode, then Imam Hussein's episode in Karbala, and I personally have also felt that yes, there's one time when I am directly communicating to God. God, see here, I want this thing, I want you to solve this problem of mine. My son was not feeling well. So I said, okay, please see to it that my son gets cured quickly. So there's one point in time when you are very close to God.
Tell me, what was the first time in your life you feel like you had to rely upon God?
First time before SSC, I think during my when could it be? I can recollect that I used to demand things from God quite early on, but then for me God was, okay, God is somebody there. I think probably during those examinations of mine which I said, the school examinations for which I had, that was the time when I had started this formal communication line with God, and had said, please see to it that I get good marks and I get a certain percentage, above 80%. I got only 67. Because during those days 80% was something by which you could get into a better college, and I was very keen to become a nuclear physicist at that point in time. So I said I want to get into nuclear physics and I want to become a scientist, and I have to score more than 80 if I have to get it in a good science college. So it was the first time I probably had put a formal request to God. And I think he turned it down. Well, good for me. Today I'm a researcher. So yeah, that was the first time.
What do you think was the most important time in your life that
it has so happened now that because of this, especially in this last, from the age of 26 or 27 onwards, my reliance on God has been complete. If He gives me, good. If He doesn't give me, all the more better, because then He's going to reward me in some way else. I don't understand as to how. I'll give an example. Yesterday I had a deadline to meet for certain on this research that has been given to me, and I had not met it. What happened was that I said, okay, irrespective, whatever I have delivered, but I'll still go and keep an appointment with Angela. Angela's call comes at 6:30 and says, Juzer, I hope you have not left home. I said, no, not yet. Why? She says, I will not be able to reach by 7. And so I said, how about 7:30 or 8? I am quite tired, let us postpone. So I said, okay. Now what has happened in between, there's this particular person, there is this gentleman from whom I have demanded, he has to provide me a list of all the NGOs, and that list has not yet come across, which I have to deliver to Angela. Now look at it this way, things are happening in such a way that till I have not got my research in my hand, things are getting delayed. This is not the only thing. Sometimes I am just walking on the road and there's either some crow or some sparrow who is attending nature's call. I miss it by a few centimeters or inches. I'm going on an appointment, it would look very bad, I have to go wash myself. I mean, you can consider one's embarrassment on that. But these things keep happening. I miss a train, I reach that place and those people say we have not yet reached, we got caught up in traffic. So now for me, God is there everywhere. The moment I step out of my house, I offer a small prayer by which I invoke 70,000 angels to join me. Sometimes I tell even my co-religionists, that people from my faith, that you probably may have a doubt that by offering this prayer whether 70,000 angels will come with you or not. But for me, they are there. Now, if in case, if a crow shits and falls on my head, I still feel that it is in my favor. I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel bad about it. So for me, now I am out of that realm wherein I feel that anything and everything that happens is happening only in my favor. Even if I have sinned and even if I have done something wrong, I know that God's mercies are such that He won't leave me. He is always there, some way helping me. It brings to my mind that particular poem, or that I had already read that thing earlier, but later it started appearing on the email. That there's this person who is walking and he says there were just 2 marks of feet that were there, and then he says there was only one, and then God says, because I was holding you in my lap. So for me it's always like that. I'm always in God's lap, or I'm always being looked after. There's never a situation where I feel that I'm out of place.
What are you most grateful for?
My wife had once asked me, Juzer, she was in quite a romantic mood, and she said, what do you think? She had put me the same question, and at that point in time I had said, which is, or even on a serious note, it is still the same answer for me. Me shedding tears for Imam Hussain's death is probably the greatest point in my life. One of the greatest achievements that I have done in my life. Why? Because that single day episode, I have taken it to innumerable places and I have applied it, and I always get a message from that episode. His death is, earlier I never used to pay. 5 years back, if you would have asked, not 5 years back, but a few years back, let's say 10 years back, if you would have asked the question, the answer would have been different. But from the last 8 years, the more I think about it, the more I feel that yes, this statement is right. That in the death of Hussain lies the whole of the world's science, anything from the beginning till end. Any and every science is encapsulated in that one single episode of Hussain giving away his head. And that day's episode, the Karbala episode, it is so enmeshed in me that I feel that if a person can shed even one tear in his entire life for this particular episode, I think it would be the greatest achievement in that person's life. For me, I think the whole of the Islam, the whole of the science and anything and everything boils down to this one thing of Hussain giving away his head. Because I feel that pain and to rise to that occasion of good winning over evil, even though in material terms it will look like it is a defeat, but in the defeat lies the very victory. I can go to numerous other faiths and I can say this is what they said, this is what they said, this is what they said, but nobody can give you can encapsulate everything in a single episode or in a single act, except for this particular act of Imam Hussain. I mean, if I were to think about it, I can get tears in my eyes even now. I don't have to make an effort also. I understand this episode in a fashion that when we talk about Hussain and we talk about Hussain in a way that we are talking about his giving of his head. I mean, you have to have, but of course, my understanding is completely different. I mean, people either have not paid attention to it. I have to get myself out of it to talk more about it. Because the more I start thinking about that thing, I'll not be able to, I just get completely taken away. Becomes difficult for me. But, how can you go and take your 6-month child who's without water and you know that these people are going to kill that child and even then you know that this act has to be done and you have to raise the child and you know the arrow is going to come and the arrow comes, kills the child, and then again you have to remove your sword, you have to bury your child. You can go to innumerable acts. You can start from the very first act when he sent Hur, to the time when he goes to fight. He has Zulfikar in his hand. After his father and he's the greatest warrior on earth. He can kill every single one of them. And he says, and Archangel, we call it Gabriel, Jibril comes up and he says, Hussain, I have come with a flock of 70,000 angels. What do you want? And Hussain says, no. What does God want? He says, God wants sacrifice. I just can't understand how, from where he must have mustered this strength to say that I am here to fulfill God's wishes. Having seen all your sons dead, all your supporters dead, and they were not some Tom, Dick and Harrys. Everyone was a star in himself. I can talk hours and hours and hours on a single person. But so for me, the single act probably is, so I still feel, not just me, for me the greatest time was, and of course, when I first cried, I didn't cry for Hussain. I had actually cried, the first time I had cried for his 6-month-old son being killed. If I recollect, I think that was around the age of 17 or 18, that first time I had tears in my eyes that Ali Asghar died. And that episode of Ali Asghar, that how Hussain takes him and everything, I cried. And after that, there were occasions when I didn't cry. I have always come up, as I said earlier, that my mom had brought me up and my mom has been a very strong influence, and since they were from a very powerful family, so they were always in close contact with the Rajputs and everything in Gujarat region. So she always used to tell me, men don't cry, men can't have tears. So I always used to fight back tears. So even when I used to get hurt, I never used to have, I mean, my friends used to say, Juzer, how can you bear so much pain? Yeah, I mean, your leg is cut, does that, I mean, we would have cried. I said, no, but I don't think that a man should cry. From that stage to the stage where I feel that, I mean, it was just about at the age of 33 or 34, I mean, about 4 or 5 years back only, it struck me. I was just thinking, and I said, it just struck me that Ali cried. Now, in Islamic faith, Ali is probably unmatched, and has a Shia and has a Bohra and Muslim. I mean, the fact remains that there was no the greatest warrior that this earth has ever seen was Ali. Now, if Ali cried, then I mean, it's stupid on part of the people to say that men don't cry. If Ali can cry, then every man should cry. And if Ali cried for Hussain, then even you should cry for. If Muhammad cried for Hussain, you should cry for Hussain. And not just that act, there were several episodes during which Ali has shed his tears. I said that, I mean, if Ali can cry, then, I mean, you can't say that men can't cry. Men have to cry because Ali cried. So, but for me, the greatest, the high point of my life, if ever for the last 8-9 years that I have maintained, and I will continuously maintain, is that if a man can shed a tear for Imam Hussain, just one tear in one whole lifetime, I think that would be the greatest achievement for anybody.
What's your greatest wish?
Quest.
Wish. Yeah.
Wish. It has to be again. I'll go back my past. The one act which has always stopped me from committing sins, I mean, whenever this thought passes my mind, I am on the verge of doing something and I'll stop, is the fact that how will I face up to Ali on the doomsday? This one, so even if I am about to, whether in my work, or if I am about to pass a critical statement in a report, or if I am on the internet and I am just typing an email and this thought comes across my mind, I'll discard the message, I'll stop. I mean, this one thought, I don't know from when, this I can't recollect, but from my childhood I do remember that yes, whenever this thought comes to my mind, and at any point in time it comes in, that how will you show, I mean, what kind of face will you take and show to Muhammad, to Ali on the doomsday? I mean, if I am even about to perform a good act, say if I am going to give a beggar a 1 rupee coin, I probably will end up giving him 10 rupee immediately. I said, because finally, so probably this probably would be my wish also, that when I go and face up to Ali on the doomsday, he should be proud of me that I was a good Shia of his. I mean, it would be, I mean, anything and everything that I do, on one hand, God consciousness is there, but expressing it in human deeds, expressing it in who expressed it the best, it was probably Muhammad and Ali. And Muhammad, of course, being the prophet, didn't do many things, but there were other things that Ali did for Muhammad, and there are certain things that happened between Muhammad and Ali did for Muhammad. So I always look up to this, and those are my ideals. So right from my childhood, for me, Ali has been my idol. He's still today the idol. My tears definitely are for Imam Hussain, but Imam Hussain is the son of Ali. So that thing is always there in my mind, and this is something which my father probably has always instilled in me. Juzer, Ali and Ali and Ali. So even when I was very I think from the age of 5, I remember my mom got wild on me on something, and she, we make those chapatis, we make those roll pins. She came to hit me, and I started shouting Ali, 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 and I mean she held back her hand. So Ali has been a key for me in any and every other occasion to save myself, and not only save myself, to ask for things. I mean, even today when I am in difficulty, I'll think of God and everything true. But the one name which I'll be continuously muttering Ali, 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 Ali. So if I'm in a very difficult situation and I can't think of anything else, the quickest way for me is Ali, 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 Ali. And I'm not going to stop at the figure 110 which we ascribe to Ali, but I'm just going to, if I have to meditate, I'll probably meditate on that word. If I have to do anything, even in my free time, if I've got nothing else to do, then probably I'll be chanting his name.
What do you want people to know about you when they see your picture?
I always look upon myself, or rather, I am a picture of hypocrite who in his earnestness is trying to be faithful to God and his what do you call? Wait a minute. There's always been at the back of my mind that I'm a hypocrite, but I have to express I'm passionate about this fact that I want to do everything the way God wants it to be done. And I think I just read that quote yesterday. This Thomas Empis or somebody, he has expressed it very beautifully. I have actually copied it and saved it for myself. Says that I could be wrong, I could be right, I could be this, I could be that. In my attempt to do something right, I probably am doing from the wrong way. But my desire to do it in the right way and to keep you happy is by far the most important thing for me. And so I look upon myself much in the same way that I'm a hypocrite, and I'm a hypocrite, but I want people to look upon me as a hypocrite who tried in his earnestness to perform and conduct deeds to earn God's happiness.
Do you have a message for other people around the world?
Message which would be exactly like my wish. I'm not the only hypocrite in the world. Every one of us is a hypocrite, but I want every one of you to make an attempt in your life and to stick to that attempt of yours permanently, or for as long as you can, and perform deeds, conduct deeds to earn God's favors, mercies. Apart from that, nothing more. That is life.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.